I didn't make my bed. Don't yell at me. Okay, welcome to Draft League. Draft. I am playing in the APA, which stands for the Australian Penguin Anteaters. I don't know what it stands for. Something Pokemon Association. Advanced Pokemon Association. Anyway, this is a really cool league. I'm really excited for it. I haven't done Draft League in a couple months, and this league in particular is very cool because the way that it works is there are 3 drafts throughout the regular season. There are 3 drafts normally. Every 4 weeks, we're going to redraft a totally new team, which is really interesting. A lot of people feel that the drafting is the most fun part about playing in draft leagues. I think drafting is fun. I think using the Pokemon is part of the point as well, but I'm definitely not complaining to be able to draft more. So we have 3 total reset drafts throughout the season. And for Top Cut, I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I believe you're able to use any Pokemon that you used in any of those 3 drafts. So ideally, you wouldn't want any overlap, and you would want a Top Cut so that you would have like a full pick. However, they still have to fit the requirements. So in most draft leagues, it's like Tier 1, Tier 2, 2 Tier 3s, Tier 4, Tier 5, a Mega, and then 400 points to be allocated as you want. So basically, this is the first draft. I'm really excited. I haven't played singles in a while. It's really hard to kind of get my brain back into singles mode. Definitely feel like I'm a little out of it. I didn't make my bed. Please don't yell at me. But it's really interesting. We've had the draft, so I'm gonna tell you guys what I drafted. Let me know your thoughts. I don't feel like this is necessarily as strong of a draft as my WBE draft, but or the second one, but that was a pretty impressively strong draft in my opinion. So it's gonna be hard to match. Anyway, let's just do it. So I'm gonna pull it up here. So basically, I was thinking for my first pick, I wanted either Jirachi or Mega Charizard X. Jirachi is a Pokemon that I like to try and use Pokemon that I don't get to use in VGC when I have the chance at least. Because Jirachi is a mythical Pokemon, I'm never going to have the chance to use it in VGC. So, and it's been one of my favorite Pokemon for a while, and I really like the ability to flinch things. I feel like that's pretty fun. So yeah, it also has like Stealth Rocks, which is very important. It has a lot of good support moves. I don't actually fully know its support set, but I got to use it a little bit in the MBL. It was kind of underwhelming, to be honest, but I do think it's a really cool Pokemon. I really wanted it as my first pick, but unfortunately, I believe MV took it first. Yeah, MV took it first, so I was like, it's kind of a drag. And then I was like, okay, maybe I take Mega Charizard X, because Mega Charizard X is a Pokemon that's one of my favorites, and it just seems like such a strong Mega, and it also gets Defog, which is pretty good. Although the 4 times weakness to Rock is kind of a pain, but it gets Defog, it gets Roost. Seems like a really threatening Mon, although I haven't really dealt with it too much in singles, but on paper, it's a Mon that really interests me a lot. And basically, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take one of those 2, and they were both taken before my pick. I was the 12th pick, I think. So then I was like, well, I want Tornadus because Bird Up, right? But I was like, no one's going to take Tornadus first pick. I've got some time before Tornadus goes, and I don't know, I don't want to just, redo my WBE draft. So I was looking, and I was like, man, in my last draft, one of my main weaknesses I felt was that I had to take stupid Fortress as a Steel type, and Fortress is, not that bulky, and I feel like part of the point of a Steel type is its resistances, and you want it to be bulky. So for my first pick, we took Heatran, surprise, it's Heatran. So Heatran's a cool Mon. I wanted my first pick. Basically, ideally, your first pick, you're going to be bringing it to most weeks that you play. Heatran's been one of my favorite Pokemon for a while. However, since they nerfed Steel typing, I've definitely fallen. It's kind of fallen for me. Resistance to Dark and Ghost doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it makes a big difference. Heatran just feels a lot less bulky now. Or maybe it's not the metagame change, but since Gen 6 and onward, I haven't been as crazy about Heatran, but he is one of my favorites. I got second at Worlds with him, largely because of him, to be honest. And so he'll always have a special place in my heart. Heatran has good defensive typing. Mine is the 4 times weakness to ground. He only has 3 weaknesses, which is pretty good for a fire type: ground, fighting, and water, especially a fire dual type. And those are relatively, I don't know, those are common types that you want to resist for the most part, especially ground and water. So wasn't that worried about his weaknesses. And he gets Stealth Rocks, which is really good. He can be offensive, he can run. This league is cool because it's no restrictions on Z moves. So he has a lot of options with Z moves. I think as a VGC players kind of know. I remember when 2018 first rolled around, people were talking about Z Solar Beam, Heatran, I believe Georen Z Nature Power at one point with Tapu Bulu. Though don't quote me on that, but I think that was a thing. That was definitely a thing I played at some point. He gets Substitute, he can be bulky, he can roar things out. I don't really know why I mentioned that, but yeah, he can Toxic Magma Storm stuff. He can Substall, he can be offensive. He is Fire and Ground is relatively good coverage for the most part, especially when you consider Toxic, which will whittle down a lot of the water types that want to switch in. He's also a Pokemon that can fit Protect because he doesn't have any better forms of recovery. So Heatran's a really cool Pokemon. I really don't like 4 times weak Mons in Draft League. It's kind of one of my pet peeves. And spoilers, we have a few on this team. But yeah, Heatran was a really cool pick. I was like, I wanted a good steel type because I was looking at it and I was like, okay, what are the other good steel types? And it was like Scissor, I wasn't crazy about. Scissor's a really good one, but I didn't want to take Mega Scissor, and then I didn't want to take Scissor as well. I just wasn't feeling it right now at the moment. And then there's like Celesteela, who I just isn't really my favorite, and I don't even know if it gets any hazard-related moves. Yeah, there just weren't that many steel types that really caught my eye, and I was like, if I don't take, I was like, I would be okay with Magnezone, right? I think Magnezone is kind of cool, but I was like, man, if I don't get Heatran, like, I don't know if I can bet on someone else not taking Magnezone. So, anyway, long story short, I took Heatran, and I'm happy with it. So anyway, it's my turn. My turn comes around pretty soon, pretty quickly after, and I was like, okay, I probably want to pick a Mega that complements Heatran. And so I was looking at the list, and like, there wasn't, I don't know, there were a couple that caught my eye. I wish I still had my notes in front of me. I don't think I do. But anyway, yeah, so I was looking at the list, and I was like, I don't know. So basically, I played Gator in the GBA at some point, and something that he used that really interested me was Mega Altaria, and it seems like a really threatening mon in singles. And doubles, trash, garbage, not very good, probably. But in singles, you can run special. It has like a decent special attack, like a pretty good special attack stat, with Hyper Voice for special moves, Flamethrower or Fire Blast, and then good supporting moves like Roost, Heal Bell, Defog are all really good moves. And additionally, the thing is like, so fairy resistances, right, are Steel, Fire, Poison, and Altaria can either run Earthquake on the physical set or Flamethrower on the special set, and building for it, you don't know which set it's going to run. The physical set can run Dragon Dance, Return, Earthquake, Roost, can also fit Heal Bell or Defog on there if you don't need the coverage move, so really threatening mon to build for, and just kind of, oh, and it also synergizes really well with Heatran. So although once it Mega Evolves, it doesn't resist, it's not immune to ground anymore, but it resists water and it resists fighting in both forms, like Mega and non-Mega, and it's immune to, it gets at least a ground switch in. It makes people play mind games, and I really care a lot about hazards. I think hazards are like super important in Draft League, and so especially with your first few picks. So Altaria was nice because with my first two picks, I got a Stealth Rocker and a Defogger, which isn't as nice as when last Draft League when I had Mew and Tyranitar, who had Stealth Rock, and Defog. But there's not that many Pokemon that can run both Stealth Rock and Defog, so yeah, you're gonna have to kind of, you can't always, if you don't have Mew, you're not gonna get that many good Pokemon that have both. It's kind of a small set. So at this point, I had a Dragon type, and I had a Heal Bell support. I had Roost. I was like relatively bulky, and Altaria is a sweeper as well. I think sweepers are another thing you have to consider in Draft League. So then I was like, okay, I was kind of thinking, what else synergizes well with Heatran? What else synergizes well with Altaria? What am I kind of weak to right now? So I was like, okay, I definitely want something for ground types. Ground types are a problem. I want more like hazard support. I've only got 2 at the moment, and Altaria's base form 4 times weak to ice is not great, to be honest. Oh wait, there was more about Altaria supporting Heatran. Altaria is weak to Steel, Poison, both of which Heatran, and Ice, all of which Heatran resists. So it's really good synergy both ways. So yeah, that's why that was Altaria Heatran. I was like, okay, that's like a solid. It's not too fast. It's kind of a problem. Tornadus was picked right after I took Altaria. So I was like gonna take Tornadus, and then it kind of threw a wrench in the things. So Tornadus was drafted. So I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate. I'm not gonna get Tornadus this draft, which is really a pain. So at this point, I'm like, okay, no Tornadus. I'm probably gonna lose this draft league. What a pain. Bird down. But I already had a flying type, so I was like, okay, whatever. Although Altaria's not really a flying type, but yeah, so then I was like, okay, Altaria, Heatran, like, I've got some hazard support. What do I need? And water plus ice is obviously a threatening combination. It threatens Heatran. I needed something for ground types, and in general, I wanted a water type, and I really wanted Keldeo because I just think Keldeo is such a cool mon, but it doesn't have any hazard-related things. Like, it can't set Stealth Rocks, it can't do any of the hazards, and I just didn't feel like I could justify getting it, and so instead I went with Rotom Wash. It's this side. Okay, so I went with Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash and Heatran is really a solid synergy. Rotom resists water and is immune to ground. Heatran resists grass, which is Rotom's only weakness. Rotom's really bulky mon. It can burn stuff. It has Defog, which is really nice. It has Volt Switch, which is really good for pivoting. Pivoting, I think, is something that I didn't emphasize enough this draft. I think that's something that I kind of took for granted with Tornadus, just like being able to get stuff in and out safely. So I think if I were to do this again, I would maybe pay more attention to pivoting Pokemon. Like, I think there's just a lot you have to account for, and it's hard because you can't guarantee what you're going to get. A lot of Pokemon, not that many Pokemon I wanted were taken, but there were a couple times at least where something that I wanted disappeared before my very eyes. So, but overall, I'm really happy with my draft. So, yeah, so I went with Rotom Wash, immune to ground, only weakness is grass, very bulky mon, Defog, can set screens. I'm not crazy about screens because ever since I learned that, you know, Defog removes them, but good Pokemon overall. I've got 2 Defoggers and 1 Stealth Rock user at this point, so that's like a strong start, I think. Rotom can be Scarf. Rotom's cool because it can be disruptive in a lot of ways. Like, it's really bulky, which is important. It has good coverage with electric and water. Obviously, water hits ground, which is electric's only immunity. And we have really strong stuff for grass types already, like not just resisting it, but like Heatran and Altaria threaten a lot of grass types, I think. So there's that, and then you can run Scarf Rotom, you can run Specs Rotom, and in a draft league where Z moves are kind of fair game. I feel like Rotom can play a cool, like an especially cool role because like a lot of times when I see Rotom, I expect it to be bulky, but if you get hit with like a max power Z water, you can end up taking a lot of damage on something. So yeah, Rotom doesn't have reliable recovery outside of Pain Split, which isn't amazing, but you know, you can't be perfect. So I don't know. I was happy with Rotom, and I thought that if I didn't take Rotom next, Rotom's a tier 2 Pokemon, and I still had a tier 1 based on my draft strategy. I was going to take 2 tier 1s and 2 tier 2s. Which I knew, but I decided to wait to get my next tier 1 because I didn't think Rotom was going to last much longer just because it's a really good mon. Moving on, so that's the first 3, and overall I'm like, okay, my team is kind of slow. That's like the first thing I noticed, and I've got 2 defoggers, 1 stealth rock user, so I need more hazards, and I need something else that can sweep that's fast. Like I've been kind of taking for granted the fact that I was going to get Tornadus because I didn't think anybody else liked it other than me, but somebody else took Tornadus, so he gone, which is bad. Anyway, so at this point, I'm like, my team's really slow. Let me get something kind of fast. I know I need a poison type at some point, and I want something fast that has sweeping potential. So I went with Nihilego. Nihilego is a mon that I don't really love in VGC, but I played against Chimpact in the GBA at some point, and he put in a lot of pressure with Nihilego, and it kind of made me reconsider it. So Nihilego's cool because it has Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes, which are really good for hazards. There weren't that many tier 1 Pokemon that fit the sweeping fast criteria and also could set hazards, so I was happy with that to have a secondary Stealth Rock user in Nihilego. Unfortunately, they are both weak to ground. That's kind of a problem and something I'm gonna have to account for. But yeah, I figured Nihilego was a cool mon. Beast Boost makes it can make it like really difficult to versus a lot of Pokemon. If you are in a disadvantageous position, you can kind of sack something off and then bring in a counter. But with Nihilego, you have to be really careful, especially if you don't know what Beast Boost it's gonna get, because you can easily it doesn't cost that much to EV for speed rather than special attack boost. So really good coverage. Poison and Rock hits a lot of things, and you can also run like Grass Knot and electric type attacks or a hazard. You can also run a bulky Nihilego. Singles players might not be aware of what we saw in VGC, but I remember in 2017 people were running like very bulky Nihilego at some point. I know people might have think based on my first 3 that Tapu Bulu would be good, but it was just too slow and it didn't do any hazards. Didn't have any hazards available, so that's why I ended up going with Nihilego. It's a solid mon. I really don't like the low physical defense, and I don't like the 4 times weakness. 3 of my 4 mons have 4 times weaknesses. Altaria is like because of it one's a Mega Evolves, but you still have to be careful of it. So yeah, that was why I went with Nihilego. Good hazard support, good like a decent speed stat. It's definitely like faster than, it's above base 100, which is a start. Really threatening and really good coverage and kind of scary. Moving on. Next up, I was like, okay, I need a grass type, and I really wanted Tangrowth. I was like super on the Tangrowth train. I was like, Tangrowth, yes, Regenerator is one of my favorite abilities to use in Draft League. It's so good. I think Amoonguss was taken, which I was surprised about, but I already had Nihilego. Let me just check. Amoonguss was taken round 3, and yeah, Tangrowth was taken right after I took Nihilego. So I knew I wasn't getting Tangrowth, and I was like, but I knew I wanted a grass type because, you know, Fire, Water, Grass is a pretty obvious core. I don't know, grass type just really complemented things well, and I was worried about like Tapu Koko, for example. I know they can run like Brave Bird or Z Brave Bird, but I definitely wanted a grass type. I wanted something. I knew I wanted a ground type at some point, but I knew that I also wanted a grass type. It just complements Heatran really well, naturally resisting grass and water. Nihilego also shares weaknesses to water and ground, which is really important. Yeah, resisting water and ground is huge. Obviously, that's 2 of Heatran's 3 weaknesses, and fighting is the less common of the 3. Yeah, we've got two Pokemon with weaknesses to water and ground. Doesn't do anything for steel types or poison types, but we already have 2 steel and 2 poison resistances on the team, so that's good. It's another ice weakness, but again, we already have 2 ice resistances in Heatran and Rotom, and most ice moves are special. Nihilego's pretty specially bulky, so yeah. So I knew I wanted a grass type, and I really wanted Tangrowth, but it was taken. And then I saw Shaman Landform, and I was like, you know what? That's a Pokemon that I could never use in VGC. It seems cool, and I was reading up about it, and it's fast. It's a base 100 mon, which I didn't realize. I thought it was like base 80 or 85. And Seed Flare is an amazing attack, and it can do a lot of really annoying things, and it has Earth Power. So you can run Seed Flare, really strong move. Not a lot can switch into it because if they get their special defense lowered by 2 stages, a coverage move can do a lot of damage. Gets Earth Power, which hits ground or steel and poison types, which are the biggest things for Shaman. Can run Toxic. It also has Natural Cure, which I think can be really, really nice in a lot of situations because it's just nice to have. I have 2 Natural Cure Pokemon. Altaria is like a maybe, but yeah, Shaman having Leech Seed and Toxic and being able to like switch into status moves can be really nice, especially like bulky water types, like Quagsire, for example, would come into my Heatran. I'd be forced to switch out, and then they could easily like hit my switch of the Toxic or a Scald, or burn me with a Scald or something, and so yeah, having a mon that can switch into that I think is really nice. And it's not Regenerator, but it is still pretty nice for team support. Also get some other cool moves like Healing Wish, and yeah. I don't really remember that much more about Shaman. It can run Choice Specs, which is pretty threatening if you're expecting a defensive set. It can be, because of its naturally high base speed, you can run Substitute on it, and it'll be like super scary. Leech Seed is obviously an amazing thing, like, because if you have Subseed with Shaman, and if you have Hazards up, it just becomes really, really dangerous to deal with. Especially like because it's base 100, so you can easily run max speed on it. Yeah, so that's cool. Earth Power, good coverage move. Get some other cool moves. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a couple really cool things it can do, and overall just like good bulk and good support as well. So I think that's all I want to say about Shaman. Next up, I was like, okay, guys, they put Snorlax in tier 3, and I was like, there's no way. This is my 6th pick, and I was like, there's no way they're gonna let me get Snorlax in tier 3, right? Snorlax is like a tier 2, tier 1 mon, right? Like one of the best Pokemon there is. 50% recovery that you can stock up, like Assault Vest, 3 amazing abilities in singles, a signature Z move, which can paralyze things, like guaranteed paralysis plus huge damage if they don't like do anything about it, and also some other stuff that I'm forgetting now. But a lot of really good options. Recycle. Oh, also Belly Drum. Also like Z Stockpile. Also like Rest Talk, Curse, Belly Drum, Stockpile, Immunity to Poison, Eat Good Rest Talk sets, Pursuit, Thick Fat, like hella coverage moves, Fire Punch, Earthquake. Does it get Ice Punch? I don't know. I don't think it does, but it doesn't matter, right? It definitely gets Blizzard, I'll tell you that. Really good special bulk and a huge HP, right? You can run Curse or Stockpile, and all of a sudden you're not going down easily, you know? I was like, there's no way they let me get Snorlax. And the thing is, my team doesn't have, like, okay, we've got Heatran, Altaria, Rotom, Dialga, Shaman. It's good, but if like 2 of my, like, strong Psychic types, like Latios, Mega Alakazam, who's allowed, those guys will really put on pressure on my team, like a ton of pressure. And like, sure, you could say Heatran, but he has a 4x weakness. They could easily take Hidden Power Ground. They could, you know, Alakazam can run Focus Blast, so right? And now all of a sudden my team, like if Shaman gets weakened, and Shaman can't even do that much back except for like Leech Seed, and if they're Substitute, you know, I was like, I need something specially bulky to deal with these guys, especially something specially bulky with recovery. And so that's why, and especially something with Pursuit. So I grabbed Snorlax. I was like, Snorlax, solid Pokemon, threatening, does a lot of things, doesn't do hazards. So Shaman and Snorlax don't do hazards, but like they're good Pokemon, and I was happy to have them. So I don't know, that's why I grabbed Snorlax in tier 3. I feel like Snorlax is a really strong one personally. Moving on, I got a burp. Oh, I already burped. Next up, I was like, okay, I need another tier 3 mon, and there was a tier 4 mon that I really wanted, which we'll get to, and I did end up getting it. There were 2 tier 4 mons I wanted, or like one I wanted, and then like a couple other I was considering. I didn't get some of them, but I was like, I need another tier 3 mon, and I was looking at tier 3, and there really wasn't that much that caught my eye. Like, there wasn't really anything that I was like, I really want that. Then I started thinking, and I saw, okay, wait, it's my reflected image is left, so it's my right. Yes. Boop. Zygarde 10%. Dog for me Zygarde. So, Zygarde 10% is a mon that I think is really cool. Again, it's a mon that I would never use in VGC because you'd need to be crazy to run, like, not Zygarde 50% form. Although maybe you could like, someone messaged me about this. Maybe Zygarde 10% is good. Anyway, Zygarde 10%, if you don't know, it has the same attack as regular form Zygarde, but it's a lot faster and a lot frailer. So it has way worse defense, way worse, like a bit worse special defense, and way worse HP, but all the same moves and the same attack stat and a way higher speed stat. So I was like, my team is still slow. My fastest mon is Dialga, who's not that fast. I think I want something fast, and I definitely want a ground immune at some point because, yeah, my team's very weak to ground. Dialga to electric attacks, and ground types are really strong. And the other cool thing about Zygarde is that he hits things with Levitate, he hits flying types with 1,000 arrows. So in singles, they can run Choice Band Zygarde, they can run Coil or Dragon Dance Zygarde, and they can Z moves are free, right? Like, you can run a Z move on anything. So Zygarde is really cool. Like, you run Coil and you run Z Dragon, and that seems like it's going to do a lot of damage to a few Pokemon in the game. So that's what I was thinking with Zygarde. It just seemed like a good Pokemon to have. I didn't really think it would get to me again, but it did, and I was like, okay, like this. I mean, again, it doesn't get Stealth Rock for some reason, but I think that's okay. I feel like it's too frail to really be using it too much for Stealth Rocks. You don't really, I think most of the time, like, you're gonna be basically the only thing that resists it is grass types. So if you know, we already have Heatran and Altaria, who I mentioned, and even Snorlax doesn't do that bad against special ground types or special grass types. And there's not that many good grass types, I think, like Tapu Bulu, Amoonguss. There's not that many good ones, and we have Nihilego who we also have Nihilego who threatens things a lot. So like, if grass types get whittled down, nothing can switch into 1,000 arrows, especially choice band 1,000 arrows, without taking at least a chunk, you know, or at least most things can. And if you have hazards up, or if it's a late game cleaner, he also has extreme speed, which can be really nice to kind of compensate for my lack of the speed on the team, because normally Pokemon that are faster are more frail, so I do see that coming in handy a couple times. That's Zygarde. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Actually, this is going faster than I expected. That's Zygarde. I think that's all I want to say about him. He can boost, he can run Z moves. He doesn't have that many good coverage moves. He got like Iron Tail, I think, and like Sludge's Wave for Tapu Bulu. But like, yeah, for the most part, his coverage moves aren't that good. But high speed stat, really good attack. Like literal attack, like 1,000 arrows into an amazing move. 1,000 waves can have some use as well. And then, so at this point, I was looking at my board and I was like, well, actually, I knew which mon I wanted next. There's one that I think is really threatening and like kind of very underrated. Unless, I think what's likely is that I'm missing something and that the singles players know what's good and what's bad and that I'm the one who's wrong. But there's a mon that I've always had so much trouble preparing against that it just seems like incredibly threatening, and I don't think it's enough respect, and seems way, like 2 tiers too low in my opinion, and it's a tier 4 mon. So basically my draft plan going in was 2 tier 1, 2 tier 2, 2 tier 3, 2 tier 4, 2 tier 5, and a mega. And that works out to the points. And I've done that in order for the most part. I did tier 1, mega, tier 2, tier 1, and then tier 3, or tier 2, tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, tier 3, tier 4, tier 4, tier 5, tier 5. So I pretty much went in order. Because, yeah, it just made sense for this draft. Sometimes I'll go out of order, but in this one it made sense to go in order for me because of based on like on what I wanted. I also didn't really make a big plan in advance or anything. But yeah, at this point I'm like, okay, I've got two of the 4 forms of hazards, and I've got 2 defoggers, and my team isn't that like I don't have a single rock weakness outside of like Altaria before it megas, and I've got recovery on Snorlax, Shaman Synthesis, Altaria his Roost, and the other 3 don't. So that's where I was at, and I was like, wait a second, I would like another form of hazards, and I really want Sticky Webs specifically. Spikes are like, but Sticky Webs can be really brutal, especially on a team that's not that fast like mine. Especially with a lot of mid-speed mons. Like Heatran is mid-speed, Rotom W is mid-speed, Nihilego is like upper mid-speed, Shaman is like upper mid-speed, you know, Snorlax is very fast. Anyway, I was looking at all this, and I was like, I got it right. Slurpuff, put it here. Boop! Slurpuff right there. Slurpuff, okay, it has a couple things it can do. Someone might, feel free to explain to me why Slurpuff is tier 4, but it gets Unburdened Belly Drum, which is basically like, if you put it in the right position, you Belly Drum, you eat your Citrus Berry, and then you're double speed plus 6 attack. Play Rough and Drain Punch. You can heal back your HP. Like, I know there are checks, I know it's not perfect, but that just seems so good to me. And it also gets Sticky Webs and Wish, and maybe like Heal Bell as well, I don't know. Just seems like a really threatening mon, and I really have wanted to use it for a while, and especially in singles when it could actually be good. And I never understood why it was so low. But it's tier 4, and I grabbed it, and I was like, give me that Slurpuff. That seems really good. So now I've got Sticky Webs. I've got a Wish Passer, yeah. Shaman is Healing Wish, but that doesn't really count, but it can come in handy. But yeah, it just seems like a really, like, it seems like if you can call that your opponent's not going to respect it in building and not going to bring for Slurpuff, they're just going to lose. Like, you could lead it, they could mess up their lead, they could expect Sticky Webs, or they could not, not have the right tools for it. You could Belly Drum and win the game in 6 turns, realistic. Like, that's not even that crazy. It also gets Cotton Guard, I think. Oh, Atari gets Cotton Guard as well. Watch out. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Slurpuff. I don't really have that much more to say. I would say it's not really a 1-trick pony, but it's a 2-trick pony. But both of its tricks are really dangerous. I'm excited to use it. I feel like it should be a higher tier. I feel like it's a really good mon. So that's kind of where I'm at with Slurpuff. The last few moves, I was happy with what I got. I really wanted Hitmontop from tier 4. Or Alolan Persian, but I didn't get either of them. So instead I was like, there wasn't really that much I was looking for in tier 4. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get Golisopod. He has spikes. He's a strong water and bug type. He has a priority bug move, which is really interesting. Can be threatening against a lot of use against psychic types. He gets Aqua Jet. He has really good stats. He'd be a much better mon if it weren't for his awful ability, but like, I don't know. I don't really anticipate bringing Golisopod very much, but I feel like there are some times where he can be good. Choice Band is going to hit like for a lot of damage. Choice Band Liquidation, Choice Band First Impression. Having a mon with spikes is good. There weren't really that many mons I really wanted to tier 4. He also gives me a secondary water type and a bug type. I didn't have a bug type before this, so at least I've got another type to hit psychic types, because I actually don't have a single. At the time, it was my only super effective type against psychic types, so at least it was It's like okay versus like Reuniclus, you know, it's not amazing. I wouldn't swear by it as like, oh my god, like an amazing mon. But basically, there weren't that many more mons left that I wanted. I kind of gotten most of what I wanted, and yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna take Golisopod. It has some cool stuff it can do. So that's Golisopod. Next up, my second to last pick is Piloswine. Piloswine. It's a tier 5 mon. I don't really anticipate using it that much in this. Like, it depends. It's like a bulky ground type. Whereas Zygarde is a ground type, but it can't really switch into like Tapu Koko or Jolteon because Hidden Power is just 4 times effective. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Even though Zygarde technically is a ground type, you have to be pretty risky if you want to bring him in on electric types because they'll probably have a coverage move for him. So at least having a secondary ground type is pretty nice for that reason. If it fills a different role, it's slower, bulkier, has ice coverage. It's my only ice type, has priority move and Ice Shard. We've now got 3 mons with good priority moves and like First Impression on Aqua Jet, Extreme Speed from Zygarde, and Ice Shard from Piloswine, who, you know, can have some usage, can threaten out Landorus and stuff. So yeah, also is another Stealth Rock user. We only have 3 Stealth Rock users on this team, which isn't awful, but it's not amazing. Especially because Heatran and Nihilego oftentimes will want to do other things, and also both have a 4 times weakness to ground. So that's kind of what I was talking about when I said, like, I don't feel like my hazard support is that good here. But yeah, I feel like Piloswine is just a good tier 5 mon, and basically I kind of drafted it because there weren't that many tier 5 mons I really wanted, and I think there's a chance that it could come in handy to have it now in like my late game draft, and like if I top cut. Like, I think having access to Piloswine could be really good as like a tier 5 mon, because if you have tier 5 mons that can actually do something, that would be really cool. And then for my last pick, I was looking at my team and I was like, I don't have anything for like Medicham or Gallade. Like, Gallade kind of beat my whole team, and I was running Calc, so I was like, oh, I'll take Slurpuff, it can beat Gallade. Like, but I was running Calc against regular Gallade, and it can't live +2 Gallade. So I was like, ooh, okay, maybe I take something for Gallade. And so for my very last pick, I took Mischief. I think underrated mon, can do a lot of really annoying things, has a really good support move, cool. Can't do that much damage, but like low base HP means it can pain split things. It has Will-O-Wisp and Toxic. It can use Taunt. It can use Shadow Ball, Hex. Not amazing, obviously. You can Trick Room, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it also gets Memento and Destiny Bond, which are both of which are like not threatening on their own, but if you like, again, Altaria is something that can really sweep pretty easily if you put it in the right position. So having Memento for that, having Destiny Bond to try and trade with things, having Thunder Wave on Mischievous as well, like, it's just a bulky mon that can be annoying. And there were a couple teams that looked weak to it, and it's at least a counter for Gallade and Medicham, though actually I didn't run the calc, so I don't actually know if it can if it can like handle them, but we're crossing our fingers. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking with that. Will-O-Wisp is really nice. Having a mon immune to Rapid Spin, I don't know. I don't think it'll come in that much in handy, but there wasn't that much in tier 5 I wanted. I do like Wigglytuff, but I didn't want 3 fairy types on this team. I think already 2 is kind of overkill. And yeah, this at least gives you like, so my ground resistances or immunities in the end are Mischievous, Golisopod, Shaman, and Rotom, and Altaria, kind of. So it gives you another ground immunity, which is nice. And just overall, like, bulky mon. Anash got second. For those of you who don't know, Anash Shachar got second at US Nationals in 2013 with Mischievous. It did, I don't remember the exact move pool, actually, now that we're talking about it, but it's definitely a mon that you don't want to, if you just discount it in team building, you might end up like finding yourself weak to it. So I don't know, and it's not a bad speed set either. 85, yeah, okay, it's base 85 speed, and it's 50-50 male female. Interesting. And it's got like pretty good defensive stats for an Eviolite user, low base HP, but it's honestly not that low. Like, it's a lot bulkier than Zygarde, for example, and its special defense after Eviolite's not bad at all. So it can definitely be threatening. It can be fast. It's fast-ish, you know, has a good support move pool. So I don't know. Don't anticipate it being amazing, but could be good. So just in a recap, let's put them all up on the screen. That's the team. So overall, I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's my best draft, but I don't think it's my worst either. I've got 2 defoggers. Okay, I only have 2 defoggers, but my team isn't that weak to hazards, and my defoggers are pretty well. Alright, Rotom's gonna be defogging, is what we learned from this video. Yeah, defog's not my strongest thing here, and I don't have any rapid spinners either, so it'll be interesting. I think my hazard support's kind of weak. I think my hazard support kind of weak, pivoting kind of weak. What else is kind of weak? Speed overall is not amazing. It's not awful, but it could be better. And things I do well, I think I have pretty good synergy. I think I have a couple really threatening mons who can set up and sweep. I've got 2 belly drum users, which is always scary. And I think each of my mons are good mons in their own right, and I feel like they go together relatively well. Another weakness, I think, is I have too many 4 times weaknesses, but the nice thing is I'm not stuck with these guys for 12 weeks. I only have to win 4 games with them, or, you know, 3 or 2. Well, I mean, ideally I'd win as many as I can, but, yeah, so I talked a lot, kind of getting tired of talking, getting tired of hearing myself talk, but yeah, I hope you guys found this informative and interesting. Be rooting for the Milwaukee Bewares. We're playing K-Cray week 1, so that goes up next week. On Sunday, I think the games go up, so yeah, let me know what you think of my team. Let me know if you have any feedback for me. It's been a while since I played singles, so it's been kind of hard getting back into this, like, the mindset. It's been, you know, it's a very different mindset that you have to think about when playing VGC versus playing singles, or draft league singles specifically. But I am really excited for this league. I'm really grateful to be a part of it. Really glad I was invited. There's a lot of really strong players, so I'm looking forward to some good games. Looking forward to drafting again in a few weeks. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.